my name is Megan O'Russell.
And my name is Christopher Russell, and we would like to welcome you to Page by Page, Writing the Book in Real Time. Today, we are already at Chapter 4. Yeah, I don't know if you can believe that. I can't. No. So, why don't we start this week talking about what we've been doing that is not related to the podcast? Like, what's been going on in our lives? Has it been completely calm and steady, or have we been in rehearsals?
I feel like I'm being set up because you're here and you're asking it as a question. I'm like, oh God, what answer am I supposed to get?
You're not being set up.
Well, no, because we're currently in tech for Pippin. Yes, and it's Pippin with ASL. It's very cool. It's a very cool production.
It's really neat concept.
But yeah, we are deep in tech. So if we are a little more slap happy than normal.
Yeah, we just came home from a 7-hour day. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but we wanted to get this recorded tonight. We were really, really excited. We just finished doing our final set of edits to this chapter a couple hours ago. Mm-hmm. So very, very excited. Do we want to, let's introduce the beer of the week first and foremost. So the beer of the week is Pumpkin. This is a Southern Tier Brewing Company beer, and this was not actually what I was going into the store for, but when I saw it, yes, I know I'm extra, or vanilla or whatever, it's August, but it can be Ogtober. It's fine. I love, by the way, that's why I'm wearing this shirt, because it's got pumpkins on it. Megan was like, is that what you're wearing for the podcast? I was like, yeah. She said, honey, it's not Halloween. I was like, yeah, but pumpkin beer. And she was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so yes, Southern Tier Pumpkin. It is, in my opinion, the best pumpkin beer out there. So for you beer lovers out there and pumpkin lovers, this is the one for you. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about before we get into the reading of the chapter?
About the chapter? Well, we need to do a recap.
Yes, I know that.
But of what happened before.
Yes.
Well, I don't know because I told you a couple things that I have interesting things to talk about.
Yeah,
That's kind of the only input that I get going into these is I'm like, ooh, I could say something cool about these couple of things. And that's it. And so I don't know if you think the cool things I could say cool things about.
No, I would do that after the reading, but I didn't know if there was anything that you felt was important to know going into it. Like, do you think either of those things is important to know before we start the chapter?
No, I think the kind of cool thing that would be cool to know before we go into the chapter is I was talking last time about how I had to change the first section where we see the Watcher. So as part of the recap from last time Ella finally got to leave the first day of school from hell and go home. And when she is leaving, she is stopped by the blonde wall. We find out that his name is Jason, and they are having a lovely conversation that we find out is being recorded by someone. We find out that someone is recording Ella. So when I had written that section originally, that first recording that you were going to see was not going to be in the parking lot. It was going to be somewhere else. And so figuring out how to write this chapter, because I had to change where the last chapter ended, was super fun. So, that's just a little a tidbit into the writing of it, was that rearranging when that first section from the Watcher's point of view happened, I had to completely reroute the path this chapter took.
I don't know if that eye roll of mine made it over the microphone.
I think the microphone heard your eyes.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, I think it did hear them. And so since you brought that up, I do that's something that you're not. It's not something necessarily new for you to have to be like, okay, I need to alter this now because it doesn't make sense. But what is new for you is going, okay, I have to alter this right now. And then that's it. And then when it gets published, it is canon, which is crazy. Also, just so you know, there will probably be maybe an extra round of cleanup edits before we put it in print, but that story's not changing. This is it. And that is
if we find
insane.
Some typos, we're fixing
typos.
100%. Typos
yes.
are 100% fair game.
Yes.
But no,
there will be another full read.
The story is the story.
Yeah.
But no, I do change things like that sometimes. The reason that had to change, though, is because of the format of like, okay, a chapter, a podcast episode. So when I'm in the Anna of Ilbrea books, I could, have those 300 word chapters. I think my shortest chapter in Anna of Ilbrea is like 70 words or something. But like those super, super short segments. But because of this format, alas, I cannot.
No, you cannot.
There's
alas.
a chapter length, and that is also for this chapter. It was this chapter ended before I wanted it to.
Yeah, but I
ran out of words.
12 pages long. Yeah. Like
so
in manuscript.
We should
probably get going on this. Yes, that's true. All right. So you just recapped the fact that she has made it through her first day of school. She's gone out into the parking lot. She's gotten into her truck and has theoretically driven home. We don't actually see where she goes. But the next chapter starts with her leaving her now home. So I'm just assuming that's what she drives.
Her guardian.
Does she make a stop by that really cool cafe where the green tea and the flat? I'm kidding. Now I want flatbread.
No, but that cafe is not a one and done. That cafe. Oh no!
Spoilers.
It's a small mountain town, and there's only one cafe.
Is there really only one cafe?
I mean, there's one cafe that would have flatbread.
Oh well, all right, that's fair. I've lived in small towns. Okay, so here we go. Chapter 4. What?
Not that small.
Well, smaller. Beach Bluff was
but that's not
way
a
smaller.
town.
Oh, that's true. That was
It's like a puddle with people in it.
It was a puddle with people in it. If anybody here is listening from Beach Bluff, God love you. Boy, that place.
Run.
It's yeah.
All right.
All right.
I just insulted people. Okay, let's
No, it's okay. There are some people literally who cannot get out of there, but if you can, get out. The world is better outside of there. Chapter 4. I couldn't make myself get back in the truck and drive to school for my second day. On the plus side, extensive therapy had prepared me for the possibility of not being able to even look at the truck's keys without getting shoved toward the urge to scream and not stop until my throat bled. So I'd budgeted time to walk down, and I mean down literally, to school. Stepping out onto Kate's front porch, I could only see trees. The rest of the world might as well not have existed. But pretending everything beyond Kate's house had disappeared was too dangerous a dream to drift toward. A diploma, an education, maintaining the ability to exist among others. I only managed to come up with 9 reasons I needed to go to school as I walked down the first section of Kate's driveway to reach the high stone wall that surrounded the heart of the Blackwood estate. Past the gate, the driveway wound one way, while the footpath to school, also known as La Rue de Cowards Who Can't Face Trucks, continued straight south. Mapping out all the land Kate owned on the northern side of Laureldale, it would be easy to mistake the Blackwood estate for a state park. Of the 1.5 mile walk to school, only the last 1/8 of a mile crossed onto land she didn't own. 1 3/8 of a mile through woods where no humans were allowed to trespass and only the random death-seeking idiot dared venture. Not that the people in town knew what actually happened on the Blackwood estate, and Kate would never hurt a townie just for wandering onto her land. It was the 2 centuries of horrific accidents and animal attacks on that part of the mountain that fueled the fear keeping my path quiet. Citizens of Laureldale knew not to cross the bridge over Willow Creek if they planned on making it to the next sunrise. Kate hadn't given me details on the local legends people had invented to explain the supernatural shit show just upslope from town. The Laureldale Ethereans aren't a shit show. You are. I'd barely made it halfway to school, and my feet had already gotten too heavy to keep walking. I stopped and stared up at the thick canopy of trees shrouding the path. Even in the depths of winter, the tangle of branches would keep the dirt trail out of view from above. Like the stone wall and trees surrounding Kate's kept her house out of view. Like the way the werewolves lived even farther up the mountain than Kate, kept out of view. Like the best thing for everyone would be for me to stay locked in Kate's house, kept the hell out of view. There's no fucking way, Ella. I slid my backpack off and let it fall to the ground. Walking away doesn't make you a failure. Alternate paths to getting through high school existed. I could figure it out. Finished junior and senior year with cyber school. Refused to step back out of Kate's house until graduation. Take my diploma and move so far from Laureldale I'd never be able to fuck anything up for her or anyone she loves. Too heavy? My heart jolted up into my throat as the question came from a patch of shadows 50 feet down the path. Caleb, The dryad from Algebra 2 stepped into a patch of sunlight, his hands held in front of him like that could prove he wasn't going to attack. I can carry it for you. He pointed to my bag. I glanced down, checking my arms, giving in to the ping of panic that screamed my body had finally shriveled, decaying to match the pathetic remnants of my soul. My arms hadn't withered into crumbling husks. Yet. Ella, I can manage a bag of textbooks. Right. He watched me for a few breaths. Do you know the way to school? Do you know the way to school? Yeah. He kept staring, full fey perfection on display. Even fully clothed with a backpack on, the line of his shoulders promised the lean, muscular perfection of an Olympic swimmer. And the way he stared at me, the stillness of it, paired with the symmetrical wrinkles on his forehead as he furrowed his brow, made me doubt the vision of every human in Laureldale. How could anyone see Caleb and not know he was different? That doesn't mean they won't spot you. Did Kate ask you to walk me to school? I said. Did she put out an emergency call for an Etherian babysitter? No. His face gained the most beautiful hint of asymmetry as one corner of his mouth crooked up in the tiniest hint of a grin. I heard something fall on the path. Something heavy. My delusion that I could somehow pull off going back into a normal school? He tipped his head. I dropped that delusion. It was a weighty delusion. Miss Blackwood doesn't want you to go back? She said I could wait a few days before I try again, but waiting isn't going to change anything. I yanked out my hair tie, venting my anxiety by ramming my fingers through my hair. I'm a mess, and the sad truth is, I twisted my hair into a painfully tight bun. I'm not going to stop being a fucking mess. I'm a liability to Kate. I'm a liability to everyone in Laureldale. How? His eyes darkened to a deeper green as the creases in his brow locked in place, like he'd taken a looks of concern class from Principal Harrison. Are you actually asking me to explain how my seeing a teacher die before it happened and my using your fey hearing to ask for help are a problem? I shoved my hands into my pants pockets before they could start shaking. I'm sorry I pulled you into my mess. I didn't want to give you an order, but I'm glad I could help. Mr. Carver is a good man. Caleb took a hesitant step toward my bag. Principal Harrison will want to thank you at whatever assembly they have today, and when he does, he's not going to say anything about you being a seer. He'll call you quick thinking and cool under pressure. You should accept the praise. Confirm the reluctant hero story. Last I heard, the definitive theory is that you're good in a crisis because your parents were CIA. No whispers about anything supernatural, promise. I shut my eyes, listening to the quiet of the woods, trying to imagine myself back in the echoing halls of school without wanting to vomit. I almost succeeded. Fuck it. I hoisted my too heavy pack off the ground and forced myself towards school, not arguing when Caleb fell into step beside me. We'd walked for more than a minute before he made a sound in his throat. A sound I'd gotten too familiar with, that almost spoken guttural stop of someone who thinks they've found the right thing to say, but decides they're heading for catastrophe and tries to abort mission halfway through the first syllable. The path curved around a boulder, then cut sideways along a steeper part of the slope. He made the sound again. What? He made the damn sound one more time before finally managing to speak. I'm sorry about your parents. A familiar cold pain clenched around my stomach. They were good people, he said. I stopped walking. Caleb only made it a step before realizing. He turned toward me, staying close enough I could easily swing a punch at his perfect face for bringing up my fucking family. Unsatisfying, since he'd heal by the time we reached school. Stupid, since a Sybil attacking a Fae would be like a lynx taking a swipe at a lion. At least I wouldn't be a tiny orange kitten attacking a lion. Ella? His voice had a worried lilt to it, like he'd repeated my name 3 or 7 times. I forgot you'd met them. I hated that part of my brain. The terrifying part that blurred my parents out of my memories, removing them so subtly I didn't know if my mind was trying to protect me from sudden slams of grief, or if I'd been an asshole who never bothered to pay attention to her family when she'd had the chance. When I was little, I'd seen Caleb around the Blackwood estate at least a dozen times. Mom and Dad used to bring me to Kate's every few months. Once, a trip lined up with Kate's birthday. Caleb and his dad had come to the party. I remember it. I remember trying to convince him to play hide and seek, but he didn't want to leave his dad. My parents must have been at the party too, but my mind can't place them there. My dad had drinks with him a few times. Caleb stepped to the side of the trail, giving me a clear path if I wanted to... Caleb stepped to the side of the trail, giving me a clear path if I wanted to storm away. I think he needed advice on raising an Etherian kid. I nodded as I passed him, my promise that I wouldn't bite if he walked beside me. Your dad didn't learn everything he needed from the rest of the parents at Laureldale's supernatural sandbox? It almost came out in the joking manner I'd been going for. He doesn't really talk to them. I looked toward Caleb for as long as the path allowed, waiting for him to share whatever local drama I had to look forward to. Don't worry. A single hint of a laugh rumbled in his chest as he smiled, a real, full, humor in his eyes smile. I lost track of the cold crushing my stomach as his eyes brightened to the color of sunlight gleaming through emeralds. I forgot to look away. My toe caught on a root. He grabbed my arm before I'd even had time to properly stumble. It's an unofficial Laureldale rule, safety and solitude. Meaning? I slid my arm from his grip, carefully stepping over the next jumble of roots while feeling his gaze burning on the side of my face as he watched while seemingly paying no attention to the path with that fey ease that never fails to be annoying. We minimize the links between local Etherian families. Everyone shows up if Kate calls for a meeting, but no dinner parties, no supernatural sandbox, no reason for anyone to suspect an abnormal connection. And why the hell is avoiding all the benefits of living with a cluster of our own kind the policy? Caleb slowed his steps. I almost said showed his steps.
Caleb slowed his steps.
Caleb slowed his steps.
Caleb.
Slurred.
Don't slow your steps, Caleb.
No,
a little
I literally
slap
saw
happy from
showed.
tech.
Yeah, a little bit. I think I've actually been reading pretty well for having been in tech all day.
With your pumpkin shirt, okay.
With my pumpkin shirt.
And why the hell is avoiding all the benefits of living with a cluster of our own kind the policy?
Do you want to keep going?
No.
Okay. Caleb slowed his steps. Rules like that don't get made unless someone fucked up. His smile faded. The cold cinched back around my stomach. Some kids got too close to being noticed by the humans. 3 families had to leave town before everything settled back down. I'm sorry. They were all a few grades above me, so the trouble never came near Dad and me. Still. Yeah, he nodded. Still. The rails of a wooden footbridge came into view through the trees. Dread doubled the weight of my pack. Toss the bag into the creek. Become a hermit in the woods. I picked up my pace, half jogging toward the bridge. 3 simple steps to hermithood. Dump bag, find comfy cave, hide. Easy, no more worries. Should I worry? Caleb matched my pace. No, of course not. Why? The words all jumbled together. I'm in the woods with a Sybil who suddenly started running? Shit. Don't let panic win. Fuck. I slowed to as close to a normal walk as my racing heart would allow. No emergency, just an existential crisis. Great, Ella. Smooth. About? Caleb stopped 100 feet before the bridge. The wind cooled the sweat on the back of my neck, sending a wave of prickles down my spine. How soon I'll have to torch any patched-together, twisted mockery of a life I managed to build in Laureldale? The answer, of course, being as soon as I fuck up badly enough to risk outing every Etherion in this town, which could very well be today. And how the hell am I supposed to get through school without screaming when there's no chance in fuck everyone's not going to be staring at me? And why am I more bothered by the first 2 than whether or not Carver made it through the night, or if my calling 911 before his heart actually stopped could have changed anything? Caleb just stared at me. I held his gaze, a childish part of me hoping he'd blink first, the bit of my brain that hadn't been able to focus in months, wondering how long Faye could go without blinking, and how much that answer might vary depending on Faye species. I had to blink first. Why are you still staring? I don't want to interrupt. I'm done ranting, for now. A hint of humor danced through his eyes. There was something about that lightness, the way it paired with his subtle, crooked smile, that made me wish I could stop time long enough to memorize the expression. I wanted to tuck the image away, like a gem found on the beach and brought home for display, something I could point to as proof that I was still capable of finding beauty. Mr. Carver's in the ICU, but he's stable and the doctors seemed happy with how things went overnight, Caleb said. Are you sure? How do you know? I gripped the straps of my backpack, digging my nails into my palms, the miniature pain promising I hadn't just slipped into a delusion where things went right. My dad works at the hospital. He called over this morning. Really? Caleb took a few steps toward the footbridge, waiting until I'd started walking to speak. Does that cross one of the items off the existential crisis list? Currently stable doesn't mean Carver will be okay. But it does mean having a Sybil walk into his class right before his heart stopped gave him a chance to fight for his life. He grazed his fingers against my shoulder, like he was testing to see if I'd suddenly grown spikes. I turned to face him, stopping just before the bridge. Sounds from the school parking lot carried through the trees on the far side of the creek. The reality of having to plow through the hordes in the halls to reach homeroom sharpened the anxiety pressing on the front of my throat. You didn't make Carver sick. Caleb held out his hand like I was a wounded animal that needed comfort, or a lady stepping down from a carriage. I couldn't tell which, and it really didn't matter. Either way, it was a hand reaching into the bottomless pit I'd been falling through since I'd watched my whole world burn. My fingers ached as I uncurled them, prying my right hand away from its backpack strap anchor to reason and relative calm. Keeping my palm down to hide the half-moon dents, I laid my hand in his. He kept his grip loose as he wrapped his fingers around mine, not in a floppy, flaccid kind of way, more like a hyper-awareness of the conflict between Fey strength and the delicacy of human hand bones, and a judgment pinning me closer to human than Fey. I hated that he was right. Mr. Carver has been looking off since we started back to school. Whatever's wrong with him has nothing to do with you. Sibyls aren't the cause of the things they see. Are you going to recite me a nursery rhyme? I raised an eyebrow. An ode, perhaps? He pursed his lips, tipping his head in mock consideration. Would it help? No. I pulled my hand free, turning away to hide my smile, even though I knew he could hear the almost laugh in my voice as I spoke. Especially not the one about the whispering statues. I don't know that one. Lucky. That one of my favorite teachers has a better shot at living because you're here? I looked back at him. Yeah, I am lucky. He dipped his chin. I couldn't see his eyes. I wanted to see what shade of green they'd turned. Shit. I stepped onto the bridge, heading for school, dodging the urge to reach out and tip Caleb's face toward mine just so I could study the color of his eyes. The wooden slats of the bridge thumped beneath my feet. I made it halfway across before realizing his footsteps weren't following mine. Don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up. I turned around. Caleb hadn't left the northern bank of the creek. Thank you. I do feel better, a little. I didn't stop talking. About Carver, at least, which helps with the existential crisis, so... improvement? Fuck. Caleb flattened his lips, the fullness of which I somehow hadn't noticed before, as he tried not to laugh. Fuckity fucks. What the hell is wrong with you, Ella? I mean it. My words came out closer to normal. Thank you. I'm glad I could help. The humor vanished from his face. His head snapped east like he'd spotted something in the trees. Fear smashed the vague sense of not awful that had dared to flutter to life in my chest. You should head up to school, he said. Why? I can hear the buses coming in. Damn. I hurried the rest of the way across the bridge, not realizing that Caleb still hadn't followed until I'd turned onto the path that cut toward school. Aren't you coming? I'll wait until you get to the parking lot. He leaned against the railing of the bridge, thumping the wood with the side of his fist. There aren't any normal kids who take this path. The Etherian kids who do come this way try not to arrive together. Right. The impossible weight of my bag pinned me in place. You can go first, then. And risk you running away. He raised his eyebrows. I worked too hard to get you here. I'll get back to you on whether or not I'm grateful. You know how to walk, just do it. I managed forward momentum and even snuck in a wave before the trees blocked the bridge from view. I didn't let myself go back to clinging to the straps of my pack until I was sure even his fey eyes wouldn't be able to spot me through the branches. The trail on the town side of the creek had been widened by use. The openness of the path, the way it made me feel more alone and exposed at the same time, picked at the veil of confidence I'd been counting on to at least get me to homeroom. But the voices of the students and the sounds of their cars rumbled into the trees, surrounding me like the buzz of a waiting army. My therapists had given me all kinds of healthy coping techniques for moments of overwhelm, but I, in my great Sibyl wisdom, chose to distract myself by carefully dissecting everything I'd said to Caleb. How wrong it had probably come out. What I should have said instead of, man, all right, we're going to just redo that whole thing entirely because this is one thought. Okay, so explain what we're doing right now.
So sometimes when he bungles a paragraph badly enough that it's like, no.
Most of the flubs I keep, but sometimes they have to.
But sometimes it's like, that's not a word you put there. We do a little snap and we go back to the beginning of the paragraph, and I realize that my fingers are going to be up sometimes in the video. So if you ever see that, it's because Chris bungled it. All right.
Yeah, I bungled it.
Backtrack 2 sentences and let's begin again.
All right, thank you.
But the voices of the students.
Chapter 1. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
How dare.
Okay. But the voices of the students and the sounds of their cars rumbled into the trees, surrounding me like the buzz of a waiting army. My therapists had given me all kinds of healthy coping techniques for moments of overwhelm, but I, in my great Sibyl wisdom, chose to distract myself by carefully dissecting everything I'd said to Caleb. How wrong it had probably come out. What I should have said instead to avoid sounding like a whimpering, worthless idiot, and how quickly he'd decided that he'd be using his fey hearing to avoid meeting me on the path from now on. That joy carried me all the way across the parking lot. Someone basically shouting, "Holy shit, she came back!" in my face as I entered the building almost dragged me back into reality, but my mind had already latched firmly onto self-loathing. Because how in the ever-loving fuck could I be obsessing over something as petty as if I'd said something dumb in front of a guy? I hadn't managed to solidify the exact wording of the horrible titles I wanted to carve into my own brain before I reached my locker. 4 colored envelopes had been taped to the front, each labeled with a single word. A black sign with gold calligraphy hung just above. Destiny awaits. Choose your path. And thus ends chapter 4. All right, so that's fun. Gee, I wonder if Caleb is a potential love interest. Also, are we up to answering the question that we received on your Substack about if that is Caleb, the picture?
Oh, so the picture that I posted for chapter 2.
Which, by the way, if you want to see these sketches, and they will... Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they'll be a part of the Kickstarter project, yes?
Yes.
But you can see them because we are posting them on Substack with the chapters. And I can't post the pictures on Vela. They don't have a place for me to post them. So go to Substack if you want to see the pictures, or you have to wait until like the end of next winter. Yeah, I know.
That's forever.
It is forever away. But go ahead. Sorry, the pictures.
No, so the
sketches.
The sketch that is the header for chapter 2 is actually the blonde wall Jason.
Okay, so it's not Caleb.
No, it is not Caleb.
So she's going to fall in love with Jason. So Jason's the love interest, not... I'm kidding. I love that your non-answer is hilarious. Okay. All right, great. Yeah. Again, to reiterate, I know very little. I know a little bit more than you're going to know because there are things that we have to discuss. But
all I will say is that not all love interests are two-sided.
So there's love triangles, possibly love rectangles.
No,
I don't know if that's is that a trope.
I don't think a love rectangle is a trope.
Okay,
I just mean that just because two people are set up to have that kind of connection doesn't mean that that's what it is.
I see.
So just because right now there is Jason and there is Caleb does not mean that that is where that is necessarily going.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah,
that's like a weird thing to try and be vague about.
No.
But I feel like I have to be vague about it.
No, I like it.
But the chapter 2 header is Jason the blonde wall.
Okay, so it is not. So we haven't seen Caleb yet then in the sketches.
No,
like we haven't even seen Caleb yet in the sketches.
No, I have not yet commissioned a sketch of Caleb. I have because I think we talked about it last time where I do use AI to make character images so that I know really specifically what I'm describing.
I don't know that
them.
we did talk about that, and I think that just a pin in that real quick. So AI, we do not, well, and we can talk about it if you want to cut this out later on, but it is our business model is not to sell things that are AI generated. However, we will use artificial intelligence to help us think through things, to help us visualize things, because it is very good at that. But everything that you are seeing is done by a human artist.
Yeah. And I think we did talk about it last time.
Okay, maybe we did. I don't remember.
What I do is I put in the character descriptions of like, okay, I want green eyes, I want dark hair, I want this build, and I'll just keep re-rolling and re-rolling and re-rolling till I'm like, haha, Eureka, this is it. Eureka?
Yeah. Eureka.
We're in tech, Eureka. But like, this is it. This is the person I want to see.
Okay.
And then I've been saving those images in Scrivener so that I have that exact thing of him.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Which has been really useful for me, brain injury lady.
Yeah,
with,
sure.
A good use of AI.
Well, I mean, it is kind of one of those things that AI is like, I'm sorry for who doesn't want to hear this, but AI is here, man. It's not going anywhere. As Joanna Penn says, you can either ride the wave or you can be crushed by it. So we are trying to figure out a way that we are morally comfortable and ethically comfortable moving ahead on this wave.
I never use AI for anything that I would commission an artist for.
No, correct.
I use it for things that I would have like scoured Google for hours for.
Yes.
Looking through every stock
Gone places
photo
like
site,
Pixabay, yeah.
trying to find the exact perfect person.
Well, not even stock photo sites. Like I use Deposit Photo.
Yeah.
Sometimes for certain things, and those artists do get paid, for
yeah.
the work they do. Like I've got a couple of image packs that I use on there.
But no, not even those. Like I'm talking about like Google image
literally
searches,
I see.
Like,
to look and see what it is that you
like
want.
just so that I have like a facial reference.
Right.
So I use it for things like that.
Yeah. But this is not a podcast about AI. But anyway, now you know. In case we didn't talk about it before, which I think you're right. I think we did. So there were a couple of things that you wanted to talk about briefly, like. Oh gosh, I can't remember what it was. Like yes. I don't know if you want to talk about this now, but how awesome it's been to have people commenting on the chapters on Substack and the podcast episodes, and that you think that could even maybe influence the story.
Well,
which is like,
okay,
what?
Okay, so
not like you're gonna get to vote who gets to be the love interest, but like
no,
yeah.
No, that's I can never go into any situation like that without knowing how it's going to turn out, because that gets way too dangerous.
Sure.
No, but it's sort of what's his character's name on The Walking Dead?
Daryl.
I wanted to call him Raylan Givens, but that's a different show.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's Justified.
But
that's Timothy Oliphant,
sort of
and they're both beautiful men.
I've already in the writing of this.
Careful.
I've already, in the writing of what we have so far, I've already fallen more in love with Paige. So, like,
yes.
Paige is going to get more book time because I love her.
Okay.
Now, who the Watcher is set in stone. I have a list of people it could be, but I know who it is.
And I don't. By the way, that's something I do not know, and I don't want to know.
And that can't change because the way I've been setting everything up so carefully to make sure I don't screw myself over, there is going to be one person who it can be.
So this isn't like, for instance, we did it's such a bad musical, but it was fun. This is not Clue,
where there's like seven
where you get
options.
to kind of choose.
Who is it going to be?
Is it 7 or is it 6?
I don't know.
Mr. Body doesn't count.
But it is not one of those things like who the Watcher is set. All of those things are set. But like Paige is going to get more. Ooh, that's corny. Paige is going to get more page time because I like her. And it's sort of like that thing with Daryl on The Walking Dead where like it is people are going to get more page time if people love these characters. Because if someone really loves a character and they make me love this character more, then I'm going to want to spend more time with them. So they're going to get more page time.
Yeah. And Daryl...
It's kind of a lot like in Anna of Ilbrea, where Finn is Anna's best friend, was always going to be a huge part of the story.
Right.
He, like, his purpose was there from day one. I cut some people from other scenes, like Katie was supposed to have more scenes in the Anna story. In the Anna of Ilbrea series.
Like what? Sorry, this is not an Anna of Ilbrea podcast, but I have to know. Like what? Like what? Like in what books?
It was not supposed to be Finn who went to the Lear Valley with her the first time.
What?
That was going to be Katie.
I mean, that would have been... whoa.
But I loved Finn so much.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't want Katie
Sorry,
there.
I'm trying to
Finn
like.
there.
My brain, Ilbrea lives rent free in my head. Like I think about Ilbrea all the time.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So I'm just like, what? Okay. Anyway.
But yeah, that was gonna like Katie was supposed to be a much bigger part in the story than Finn.
Yeah.
But I loved Finn so much. I was like, well, does this really have to be Katie, or can I just make it Finn?
Yeah.
I love my Finn, and I love their dynamic, and I love how they are together. So, and
They're great.
And there's already been like something that's coming up in the next chapter that I was going to have it be one character, and I'm like, but I could just boop, and I can like pop people in and out of things like that.
You started writing the next chapter already?
No, in my head.
Oh, okay. I see. I was like, that's not how this works, Megan Elizabeth.
No, it's in my head writing, not typey writing.
Oh my gosh, I just said one of your middle names on the podcast.
Oh no.
I know.
All right, continue. Okay, what's the next question?
No, not really a question, but I just wanted to point out that there are a couple of funny things in here. So, first of all, you throw in 3 simple steps to becoming a hermit, and she was like, you get the reference as we were editing it. I was like, yes, honey, I get it. So that 3 simple steps to wizarding domination.
Three simple steps to wizarding domination book 3 in the Chronicles of Brian.
The Tale of Brian
Adams.
It's the Chronicles of Maggie Trent. It's an entirely different thing.
I have to close my eyes in order to get all this right.
Yeah, go ahead.
The 3 simple steps to wizarding domination is book 3 in the Tale of Brian Adams.
Yes.
But that was me. That title became the title because I was joking around about a South Park episode.
Wait, what?
The Underpants Gnomes.
Oh, that's right.
So the Underpants Gnomes on South Park.
We got the Underpants Gnomes.
Phase 1, steal underpants. Phase 2, Phase 3, profit.
You're right.
Which
Phase
was
2 is always just not there. Yeah.
Exactly. Which was I thought it was so Brian. So then that ended up as that title. So then that moved from one to the other.
I don't know that we ever talked about that. That is hilarious.
So the 3rd book in the Brian Adams series is an
homage to South Park.
Is an homage to South Park that has now been retranslated into this.
Cheers to is it Matt Stone and Trey Park, right? Yeah. Cheers to them. Yeah. Brilliant creators.
Okay. What's next?
Oh,
sorry, so since we're both slap happy, I want to make sure I keep us on track.
If you're still listening, thank you. Nobody's listening. They're all gone. No, I'm kidding. But thank you for staying with us. I wanted to just briefly mention that I loved. I literally guffawed when you changed something in the edits that I think we did today to La Rue de Cowards, which you totally took from. It's the smallest street, right, in Paris.
I think it's the narrowest street.
The narrowest street in Paris is called La Rue du Chat qui pêche, which is the road of the cat that fishes. We just, in our guide when we were there 11 years ago, we were there 11 years ago, yeah. And it was like, go to this little street because it's the smallest like street or thinnest street or whatever in Paris. And we went and we were like, yes, it is. Yeah. So I thought that was a really cute reference.
Because those are things that you say Ilbrea lives rent free in your brain. Well, the Underpants Gnomes and Rue de Chat qui pêche live rent free in my brain.
My gosh.
I don't speak French.
No, clearly.
Well, just in case there's anyone who's like, oh no, she thinks that's French. I know I don't speak French.
No, that's okay.
I attempt and it's horrific.
Yeah. But it actually led me to a larger point, and maybe I've made this on the podcast before, and I'm sorry if I have, but is the whole write what you know, right? So that's kind of why you set this in New York. Yes, is because you know it well. And also it serves the story well, but you know upstate.
I know upstate New York.
So long. Well, 17 years technically.
Yeah. I spent
more than that when you actually.
I spent more time in upstate New York than I've spent anywhere else in my life.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But
gosh, that means I've spent more time in. Never mind. It doesn't matter.
But the reason that I chose upstate New York for the book is it's a couple-fold. So because if you want werewolves in a story, I have this thing where werewolves should not exist in territory that isn't well wooded, because how are you not going to, in the full moonlight, if you're on like barren, high altitude desert mountains, you're going to see a mass of wolf trotting around at the full moon.
It's true.
That doesn't work.
So that's why you put
cover.
I forget the clan of werewolves in Cursebound, but on the mountain in North Carolina, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The Gibbses are in North Carolina.
I'm sorry, Eve, don't come after me. She terrifies me.
Because that is a nicely wooded mountainous area.
Yes.
And because mountainous areas are less likely to be forested for farmland or naturally be prairie. So if you want to have like huge tracts of, don't laugh at me for saying huge tracts of land.
My fellow Monty Python fans out there? No? Okay.
But because if you want huge tracts of still wooded land, then having them be mountainous is easiest. So then I need treed mountains. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's like, okay, North Carolina, upstate New York, it's that whole range is anything near Appalachia is going to be good werewolf territory.
Yeah.
And I mean, because, I've expanded the supernatural universe of this way beyond what has happened in the series so far. Like different kinds of supernatural creatures, some of whom are Etherians, live in different kind of... why is my watch doing that? But they live... Sorry, my watch just spoke times at me for no reason. But they live in different territories because that is the closest to their native territory or the safest version that society currently offers.
Right.
So that's why this had to be set in wooded mountains so that I could have werewolves.
That makes sense. Yes. And can we talk about that and how that applies to...
The fact that there are werewolves in this book?
Well, did we talk about Ella and how she's involved in all that? Is that not a thing for now? That she knows that there are werewolves? There's a werewolf in chem class. No, what she has to do with werewolves.
Oh.
I am trying so hard to telepathically communicate with you.
That's not, okay, so this isn't a spoiler. It's just I haven't had a place
I don't know if we've talked about it yet.
Put this in without it being an info dump yet. Because that's the hard thing is that I know so much about this world and it's details that aren't like hidden or secret or I'm withholding them. It's just that I haven't had a good place to drop them without being like, hi, I'm currently being called Ella Day, and both of my parents were werewolves, but I'm a seer, so cool. Hi, nice to meet you.
And you can maybe we did talk about this in episode 1, but you decided in this world that you cannot be two different types of Etherion. Like you have to be one, which is why Ella, there is seer blood in her family.
No,
there's not seer blood.
There's no such thing as seer blood.
What?
There is no
so they're
such thing as
just
seer
like
blood.
randomly born? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is more like Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
that's what I was
not
say.
one at a
it's
time.
It's like a Slayer, yeah, sure.
And this is more world details, that it's not a secret, it's not hidden. It's just like
not stuff
we
they need
haven't
to
gotten to it
know
yet. Is that the whole treaty thing with the dragons in the Library of Alexandria and all these things that we don't need to get into in this moment. But as part of the protection for the Etherian community, that seers were created by this treaty.
That's right. You did tell me about that. That was months ago.
They were created by this treaty. They did not exist until the treaty happened.
That's right.
And so they are spread out among all of the kinds that took part in that treaty, and they are randomly born.
That's insane.
So that they are not bred, they are not kept specifically somewhere to be special. They are born of every kind. Okay. So it's more... It's an evening out system of distributing the protection, the duty of protecting the Etherians among all of the races who were a part of that treaty. So she was just born this way. And mom's a werewolf and she finds out that her kid is a seer, and that's just inconvenient.
Yeah, sure. I would say.
Yeah.
And I won't go deep into this right now because I feel like maybe this isn't something you want them to know, but like I won't say how, but because of her werewolf lineage, there is a way that she can see that only her type can do.
Yes.
Yeah, which is super. I'm very excited to see how this
because
works.
part of the.
I love how I'm like, I'm being
War,
secretive, and you're like, no, I'll just tell you.
No, it's fine because it's not a secret. It's just, again, it's something that there's no place for me to put it down without being like, and every other chapter is just world building lore.
Right.
But no, because what you are and how you are born and what your body is meant to do and all of those things, the way Sybil works in your skin is going to be different. So a Sybil who was born of Fae is not going to have the same kind of visions and be able to do any of the same sorts of things.
So do Fae Sibyls not necessarily foresee deaths like the way that Ella does?
It's not that Ella necessarily always foresees death.
Right.
It's just it's big timestamps.
Okay.
Is really what it's, you know how we snap in the podcast to make a giant timestamp?
Yes.
Think of it like that.
Okay.
And so maybe it's she touches someone and she sees them meeting the love of their life.
Okay.
Or it's something that like for some reason is super important and why is it this most important thing? It could be so normal.
Yeah.
But for some reason it's important.
Right.
But unfortunately, those timestamps in life a lot of times are bad things.
No, it makes sense. Traumatic events, we remember. I mean, people, I don't know that we are capable of having memories of it, but the Challenger that happened within our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And then like 9/11, we definitely remember.
Well, but it's not even that. It's not that she's reading their memories, like their future memories or anything. It's just those are the things that are big enough to be a blip that her brain gets.
Okay. Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's not like, oh, I'm seeing like your future memories.
Right.
It's like this is maybe instead of the snap, it's seismic activity is better. Where it's like, this is a big enough shake that it's something that she picks up on.
Okay.
And just unfortunately, a lot of times those are bad things.
Right. Yes. Yeah. There was something else I was going to ask you, and I do not remember what it was. So
but yes, depending on which kind of Etherian Sibyls are born to, they do function slightly differently.
The way that Ella functions or can function is so like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what you do with it. Because you told me about it and I was like, ooh, like that's cool. That's cool. All right. I think that we will leave it there for the night. We are about at time. Anyway. Okay. So
thank you for joining us.
Yes, for our slap happy episode of punch drunk. Oh my God.
Drunk?
Oh my God.
I'm just now tired. People are going to be like, I'm never listening to that podcast again. She kept making that weird voice that only millennials know from a bad meme from 20 years ago.
With this girl on it, and then it said Ermagerd Gershberms.
I don't know.
For some reason, it was a linchpin in our college years, or
it spread like strep, and now
it spread like strep. And now when I get not tired, wildfire, ladies and gentlemen, strep. That's how it spread. Which everybody be safe out there. We are about to get into the colder months, so take care of yourselves. Yes, I thought you were talking about wildfires. Okay, well, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. Well, no, but we already talked about seismic events in life and how they're most often tragic. So let's leave it on a cheery note. I love that.
Oh, wait. Okay, I have a cheery note for us.
Okay, go. Cheery notes.
For us to leave it on a cheery note for the podcast. So we have 2 cats, which I saved from a deadly disease. It was horrifying. But anyway, they're great.
She really does mean she saved. It's not that I didn't help, but she 100% is the reason they're alive.
So then we ended up the cat distribution center gave us another cat, and then there was a hissing incident, and then one flipped another ass over tea kettle and he peed midair.
The cat distribution center?
Yeah. The universe just goes boop.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, we did not get her from the same place. She chose us.
The universe.
Yeah.
The cat distribution center booped her right on us.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we've had to keep them apart for a long time. We've been doing view swapping and all that Jackson Galaxy stuff to keep the peace.
Yeah.
And they've started coexisting. So we may be slap happy. Seismic activity in life that is, things that Sibyls would pick up on may more often be tragic. But our cats are getting along and it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm.
2 of them are still kind of a little bit at odds with the other, but the one that she, as you say, ass over tea kettled, they're actually getting along fine.
Yeah, it's great.
Which is great.
And we are getting comments on the episodes and on the chapter posts on Substack, which is also amazing because I'm having a lot of fun watching people read the story in real time.
It's really neat.
It's so fun. So also another epic positive. Look at that. Look at that. And
well done. Soft high five.
Whoop, whoop. Yes. And so this will also be posted on Kindle Vella. It will be posted on Substack.
Mm-hmm. And you should be able to find the podcast like everywhere now. I don't believe.
Yes. So you should be able to get the podcast wherever you like your podcasts. Mm-hmm. Videos are all going to be posted by this point. All the episode videos are going to be up. Everything is rolled out. So life is utterly beautiful. And I am so excited for the next chapter.
All right.
Because we get to find out what the sign is about and what the 4 envelopes are about.
Oh, yeah. I actually forgot about
this. Yes, there are 4 envelopes.
And I already kind of know what they're about. And I'm so excited to see how this unfolds.
So excited. So in the meantime, please comment on the chapter and on the podcast episode and like and review and share and come hang out with us on social media because I'm really excited about this project. And I'm so excited to share this Slap Happy episode with you after this crazy week. So thank you for being with us. And until next week, we will see what path Ella chooses.
Yes.
Womp,
yes.
Womp, womp.
Yep.
All right.
All right. And that is it for us. So until next time, thank you for reading.
Thank you for joining.